Let's get more on this with political analyst Peter Mathews. He is a professor of political science at Cyprus College and the author of Dollar Democracy. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
So why is the Democratic Party undergoing this massive transformation right now?
It's a demographic change for one thing, but also what occurred in 2016 with Bernie Sanders running and Hillary Clinton together was able to allow the party to air the different perspectives that was inherent in it. You know, whether it's a progressive message or to go with a traditional message, what was winning for Democrats before. And it was a very dynamic season in 2016, and now the party is reaping the benefit of that in reevaluating its goals, its platform, and I think it's a very dynamic time for the party, and it's very exciting to see which way it might go actually in this midterm election, with what kind of message.
And of course, what's the profile, do you think, of a Democrat voter these days, and how much has it changed in these past 2 years?
Considerably, because a lot of the young people have started voting now, and they are the most diverse generation. The millennials are the most diverse generation in our history, in recent history, and they vote Democratic overwhelmingly, at least 2-to-1 now, and they're also pretty excited about voting this time around. Many of my students are in that generation, and I saw a sea change since 2016 in their attitude toward politics. They are more interested in how government affects their lives and how politics affects their lives, and they know that elections have had consequences. They've seen what's happened with President Trump being elected, with a turnout that wasn't that high back in 2016 of their generation. So this time around, I think they're going to be a higher voter turnout among the millennials, and they're probably going to vote more progressive and more democratic this time around.
Right, and we see that transformation within the Democratic Party, but we're also seeing a change within the Republican Party, aren't we? It's undergoing that similar transformation. So is it time, perhaps, for a viable third-party option for those voters who don't feel they fit this new idea of what a Republican is and what a Democrat is?
The third party has always been a problem in American politics. From our very beginning of our history, we've had a two-party system, and we've stayed with that pretty much. Out of tradition, out of political culture, and it seems to work better for a country like this that wants to decide quickly on issues. And two choices are much easier to decide than 7 or 8, like in Europe. We have parties of all kinds of ideology running, and we have a system of single-member plurality elections, not proportional representation, which would reward more than two parties. So that's one reason we stick to the two-party system. And there's always a chance for third parties. They're quite small in number. There's some significant third parties with good ideas, but they can't seem to get their ideas out there, unfortunately. I think we should get them more airtime, for one thing.
Right. And what do voters expect from the Democrats in this Trump era, do you think?
In this era, I think the overarching concern is to stabilize the country from the incredibly reckless activity of this administration, which has destabilized so much of American political culture, American traditions, American decorum. The president's broken every one of those rules, including the rule of law. And to stabilize the country by bringing back not normalcy, but a progressive situation where people will move forward and the people in power will not be beholden to the wealthy special interests anymore. And they know that Trump basically fooled people into believing he's an agent of change when he's taking big money. He kowtows to special interests. In this case, people want real change of elected leaders who will not be bought by special interests. And the Democratic Party is trying to reach that message that Bernie Sanders so effectively put out there back in the primaries of 2016. So now, I think that's what's going to happen.
Right. And now, earlier you mentioned these younger voters, and you were saying your students, they're getting out to vote. But how do you make sure people vote? Because that is the key here, isn't it? They might very well be registered, but how do you ensure they actually get out on the day and cast their vote? Because that seems to be the battle for Democrats particularly.
Absolutely, and you have to do that through issues. You've got to talk the issues that address the needs of the individual voter, including young voters and Democratic voters and other voters as well. You've got to show them how, if they vote for the right person based on ideas and the right party based on principles and issues, they can actually improve their own personal lives. For example, students today are facing tremendous odds in being able to afford education, higher education. College tuition have skyrocketed across the country. In other countries in Europe, it's tuition-free, but not here. And students want to have a relief and to have some aid in getting their education. Democrats just hammer away at either tuition-free education or affordable tuition education. And if they do that, it will capture the heart of the Democratic Party, young people. Don't forget the workers also. Many workers have lost jobs to oversized outsourcing over other countries. And Trump hasn't really addressed that fully or brought that back, the jobs that he's talking about bringing back. Because he's going back to old jobs, like jobs in the coal industry. He should be talking about futuristic jobs, as the Democrats should, such as clean energy, bringing in solar panel production, wind power, tide power, as they've done in many countries in Europe, and bring in electric cars and build them and get young people to hire as engineers to build those new products. That will excite the young people and other voters as well if the Democratic Party took that tack.
Right. Well, the midterm elections are the test, aren't they? We'll see what the outcome is. Peter Mathews, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.